Hello to all of my croissant lovers out there, and welcome back to another video. You all voted for it, so we are doing it. Today we are going to be asking the question, how would I judge Drag Race France Season 1? It's very fun that y'all chose this, considering that Drag Race France Season 3 is ending just about a week from when I'm filming this video, so we're basically going to be doing the France seasons back to back, which I should have thought of before I put it on the list last time, but you know, oh well. So I actually hadn't seen this season before I had done the research and everything for this video. I'd seen bits and pieces of it. Like, I'd gone to watch Lolita Banana and La Big Bertha's lip sync. I had seen the like girl groups challenge. Uh, but I hadn't seen really anything else of the season. So this is a fun little ride I got to experience. And I hope that you all have fun watching this. The rules to remember, as always, are this season of Drag Race France has to be as long as it originally was, which is 8 episodes, 7 competitive episodes in the finale, and the performances and the challenges need to be based off of how well someone did or how people would predict they would do. So I'm not just going to put somebody in the top when they were originally in the bottom, or vice versa, unless there is strong fan support for that being the case. The goal, as always, is to act as if I am the head judge and craft the season however I can imagine to make it as fun and eventful as possible, while also being fair with my judging of the season by combining my own personal tastes and what was shown to us on the show. Before we go any further, though, please like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy yourself. My latest video that I uploaded regarding how I would cast a Drag Race UK All-Star season is one of my most viewed videos ever, and it just came out. I literally, it's my 5th most viewed video on this channel. And thank you all so much for watching that. I really did not expect that video to pop off as big as it did. I went on vacation recently and I was like, I gotta have a video up. What can I make and film? And I made and filmed that video in like a 3-hour span, and edited as well. So thank you all so much for enjoying it. I really deeply appreciate it. Anyways, let us get down to it. In episode 1, we have ourselves the talent show. I love starting a season with the talent show. I think it's very fun. It provides a lot of good content usually, and it allows the contestants, well, most of the time, to like show their assets in the best way that they can by allowing them to have you know, an amount of time to just do whatever the fuck they want to show why they are there and like why they do drag. And it's so, I love it. I really do. I get the placements kind of similar to as they were originally. So it Muse won, which I completely agree with. I think her singing performance was so good and just so like meaningful and memorable. And it was when that when I saw it, I was like, oh, okay, I get why Soa won for sure. So I kept that the same. But originally in the high placements we had Ellipse and La Big Bertha, and I was really close to putting Big Bertha in the top. She was my 4th favorite personally, but I thought La Brioche and Lolita Banana did better than the both of them. Brioche also had this wonderful singing performance that was just so, again, so beautiful and really touching. And Lolita had, I mean, I would say arguably the tightest dance performance in a talent show we've had period ever. Like, it would have been elevated if there was, like, you know, a singing, like an original song aspect to it. I think that would have elevated it a bit more, but just purely on a dancing level, it is the most impressive talent show I think we may have had ever on Drag Race. It is that good, and I was close to giving her the win here, but I thought Soa was more captivating just as a whole. So I was like, yeah, Soa's gonna keep this win here. And Ellipse, she was originally in the top. I just personally didn't see it super much. Like, I don't think she did a bad job at all, but it was essentially a performance of, like, reveals, like, sequential reveals. And it's one of those things where, you know, she had, like, 4 reveals in a row, like, taking off sleeves to reveal the red under it, then taking off a pants, and then a shirt. And I think there was also, like, a wig later. But, you know, once she took off the one sleeve and it was red, I was like, "Oh, okay, the next sleeve is red. And then the pants under that's red. And then the shirt is red." And I just, like, every single reveal, I'm like, "Okay, yeah." Like, that's what I expected to happen. If we're gonna be doing a reveal, I should not be expecting the reveal. And if I am expecting the reveal, I need to not be able to expect what's coming after it. But after the first reveal, I expected what happened to the next 3. And I was not surprised. Again, I think she solidly did a better job than everybody in the bottom 3 here. But personally, it just wasn't my cup of tea. I did keep the bottom 3 the same. I feel like it was all completely fair. Cam had a bit of trouble in her presentation of her performance, but I do feel like the concept was really strong. And then Kahena and Lova La Diva both had various issues with their performances. Lola's didn't particularly feel like a talent show performance, just like as a whole. And Kahena, it actually started off pretty strong. When I started watching it, I was like, "Oh, I think this might be better than Cam's," and then it just kept going, and it became more like, "Oh, okay, we're past the part that I found super funny. Now we're just kind of like talking." Just like it just kept going, and I think the fact that Cam's performance was like pretty succinct ended up like being a good attribute for her. Lova La Diva and La Kahena are going to be in the bottom 2, and they're going to be lip syncing too. And before I say the name of the first lip sync song of the season, for all the lip sync songs on this season, I'm going to butcher the name of the song or the artist for sure, and I apologize for that. They lip sync to Prière Pan by Celine Dion. And yeah, Lova wins this. She won it originally. I completely see it and agree with it. I don't really have much else to say about it. So sadly, La Kahena is going to be eliminated here. But we are going to very shortly be able to see her on Drag Race Canada vs. the World Season 2. And I hope that she does a better job there. And I think she will do a better job there. I'm crossing my fingers. In episode 2, we had ourselves an acting challenge. For the acting challenge, they had to act in this parody of a show that I do not know called Call My Agent, which, I mean, it's French, so that makes sense that I don't know it. And I feel like the judging this episode was pretty fair, except for one exception. The tops I kept completely the same. Paloma definitely did the best in this challenge. She did have the biggest role. But she really played it very well. And it was kind of one of those roles where, like, if you played even decent, you're going to be in the top. But she played it super well, and she very clearly won this, in my opinion. And then Lolita had a fun standout moment with her character. Out of all the characters that kind of were, like, revolving door, coming in and out of the scene, hers was definitely the one that stood out the most. And then La Grande Dame was the other main character, and she played it super well too. And I just love her voice. I feel like she should have, her original voice that they were doing, or like in the challenge, that the judges were like, "No, don't be as bourgeois with it." I'm like, this voice is great. I love it. I want her to keep doing that voice. I just love the way she talks. It's very fun. And in the bottoms, La Big Bertha was low. I decided to keep that the same. And Lova La Diva was in the bottom, and I kept that the same. But originally, Soa was in the bottom too, and I don't get it. I'd seen online, literally since this episode came out, and since various random times, oh, Soa was fucked over with a bottom 2 placement she shouldn't have got. And I was like, I believe you, I guess. I haven't seen it yet, though. And then I watched it the other day, and I was like, yeah, I just don't see it. She was like, granted, I think looking at all 9 of them, she's like 6th. Like, she's barely out of the low placement for me. But she certainly did not deserve a bottom 2 placement. Sadly, Ellipse, I definitely think deserves a bottom 2, because she ended up having to play this like mime character, which is just a hard character to play, because you literally don't have any words, and in terms of the screen time that this character has, this mime, it is, I think, the lowest out of every character here. Like, Labrioche's, I think, also is there for just about the same amount of time. But, you know, she had words to say, and technically had 2 characters, whereas Ellipse just has to act like a mime for like 15 seconds and calls it a day. So it's really it's not an equitable role, I feel like, in my opinion. But regardless of whether it's fair or not, it was my second least favorite. Actually, I think it was my least favorite. I think Lova did better, and not for like, oh, she did a great job reasons. More of that, we got to see her more reasons, and also like her like fake snickering, the like fake laugh she was doing, where she was just like blah, blah, blah. Like it was kind of funny to me. Um, so I decided to have Lova La Diva and Ellipse in the bottom 2 for this episode. And they are going to be lip syncing to Le Femme de ta Vie by L5. And I think Ellipse would win this lip sync for sure. We do see Ellipse only lip sync once in the season, and she does lose that lip sync to Paloma. But Lova did not do the best job in this lip sync. She ends up taking off her wig at a point in time that's not great, and I feel like with the way that Lova did in this lip sync, I think really anybody else on the cast is most likely going to win the lip sync against her. Just statistically, that feels like what would probably happen. So I do think Ellipse would stay here and Lova would go. In episode 3, we had ourselves the Ball Challenge. And these placements, again, I switched up a couple of them, but our tops and bottoms do end up being the same here. So they had to do 3 looks in this ball, as they have to in like every single ball challenge. But the categories are like what France's kind of to me category, French cliches, and then Cannes, the film festival category. Just a big old French ball. What would a French ball be? Just like a ball of a Frenchman? I don't know. But anyways, Cam Hugh won this challenge originally. She's gonna keep that win. Really, really solid. I had the exact same goddamn reaction to the judges when I realized that her first look was a pigeon. Because I was looking at him like, oh, it's like a bird of some kind. And then Nikki Dolls was like, oh, it's a pigeon. And I had immediately afterwards like, oh, it's a pigeon. It was, it cooked me when I realized that it was so good. She very clearly deserved the win here for me. Originally, in the high placement, we had La Grande Dame and Paloma. I decided to move Paloma down to the safe and put Lolita Banana in the high placement. I really liked Lolita Banana's, yellow vest look with the signs. I felt like that was super, super creative. And her final look, I think, was one of the best of the category, honestly. It was very beautiful. It very much gave, like, red carpet in a way to me. There were a couple other people who did better in that category, but I mean, she had, like, my second favorite in that the category with the signs and everything, and probably my third favorite with like the design they had to make their look. So I was like, okay, Lolita Banana's gonna get this high placement for me. But Paloma was easily my fourth. She did a great job as well. The bottom 2 of Soa, Demuse, and La Brioche are the same. But originally there were 2 people in the low placement, being Ellipse and La Big Bertha, but I don't think we needed to. I think La Big Bertha did just fine. And I, like, well, again, she was definitely, like, 5th place for me. I think her looks as a whole were enough better than Ellipse's. Like, there was no conflict in my brain of who did better. La Big Bertha did better. So I decided to bump her up to the safe placement. So the bottom 2 of Soa Demuse and La Brioche are going to lip sync to Pookie by Aya Nakamura. And Soa does do better in this lip sync, and sadly La Brioche is going to go home. But it is very close, and La Brioche is one of the contestants from the season who I would love to see again on a season of Drag Race. Can we get like a France versus the world of some kind? You know, with like the French-speaking girls from Canada, and these French girls, and who else? You can do contestants from Holland, potentially from Belgium. You could do like a France versus the world. That would be very sickening, I feel. And I would love to see La Brioche on that, or just like an All-Stars. Yeah, I do think So Demuse wins this, so sadly she is gonna go home. And we're gonna move on to episode 4. In episode 4, we had ourselves the Snatch game. This episode, I kept the rankings almost exactly the same. The closest ones we've had so far. The only change I made was that I don't think Ellipse deserved to be safe. I think she did better. I think she was high for me. Obviously, when looking at Snatch games in languages that aren't English, my understanding of the jokes and the references and like what is a good reference is obviously going to be like not 100% accurate, because like I didn't know who like really any of these people were that they were talking about. I only really knew who Alexandra Rosenfeld was because we did a simulator video on this channel where like 2 separate people chose her for their Snatch game in the simulator. I'm like, who the fuck is she? And I looked her up for it. But that's the only person I had any context on going into this Snatch game. So obviously, like, my understanding of like what is like culturally really funny and what isn't, like, is just not gonna be as correct technically. But I found myself laughing at Ellipse more than I found myself laughing at Paloma. Again, it's one of the situations where like Paloma did not do bad by any means. She was very solidly 4th for me. But just looking at the overall picture of what they ended up doing in the challenge, I preferred Ellipse's performance. Everything else is going to stay the same, though. Le Grand Dame did an amazing job. I think completely deserved the win here, playing Alexandra. And Soa also was really, really funny. When she meowed as her one answer, I kind of scream laughed. It was too loud of a laugh. I was not expecting it in the slightest. It was so stupid and so funny. On the bottom placements, I think I completely agree with. Lolita Banana kind of ends with the low here, not for doing a bad job, but just for being the 3rd worst in the challenge. I think she did perfectly okay, but I think this was a pretty strong Snatch game, so it just ended up being that her performance ended up being the 3rd worst. And then La Big Bertha and Cam Hugh, I think definitely were the bottom 2 here in this challenge. So they are going to be lip syncing to DJ by DM. Big Bertha, I do think wins this lip sync. Though it is pretty close again. I do think the reveal by Cam was pretty smart to take that wig off out of sight so that you couldn't be clocked for struggling to take it off potentially. I think that's a smart move generally. But I do think also, sadly, it lends itself to you're letting your performer stay on the stage for like an undetermined amount of time by themselves to do whatever the fuck they want. And it just kind of ended up being like, oh, that was smart, but the level of smartness that it was did not overcome what Big Bertha did with her time on the stage when she was alone and just as a whole. So sadly, Cam is going to leave here, and Cam would also be fucking amazing for an All-Stars of some kind. Get Cam there. Do it. She's so pretty. I love her. In episode 5, we had ourselves the Girl Groups Challenge. Since we have all the same contestants here, the groups would be the same. There's no reason to think why they wouldn't be the same, I feel. And I kind of ended up keeping the placements the same. The way I do top 6 episodes nowadays is we have 1 winner, 1 high placement, 2 safes, a bottom 2, and then, one of them gets eliminated. Originally, So Demuse won, and she kept winning here. She did a great job in her performance. I love the energy. I love the anger, it was good. And Big Bertha was definitely the standout of her group, did the best there as well. So she's going to get the high placement. Originally, Lolita Banana placed high along with them, and La Grande Dame was in the low placement. But with this format that I choose to do, There's not an extra high and there's no low placement, so they both just ended up safe, and I agree with them being in the middle of the pack here. I think they each definitely had positives to their performances that kept them out of the bottom too. Lolita definitely was third for me, and Legrand was fourth. Why did I just call her Legrand and left out Dom? That's a weird way to fucking shorten her name. Is just say the Grand. Not the, because usually they say Grand Dom or Dom or like, you know, Dada. No, just Legrand. But the bottom two originally were Paloma and Ellipse, and I completely agree with that. I think that's very fair. And so we're going to keep that the same. They're going to lip sync to Libertine by Marlene Farmer, and Paloma won. That, like, duh. She didn't like smoky lips by any means, but just looking at what happened, it was very clear to me that Paloma won. And she also has a better track record up to this point than Ellipse, so it just makes the most sense. And for these songs here, Libertine and our song from last episode, DJ, those songs are geo-blocked because I live in the United States, so I can't listen to them, and I also don't own a VPN service. So what I did is, as soon as I could approximate where the lip sync started in the episode, I had the lip sync playing on my phone, and on my computer, I went onto YouTube and played the songs that were being lip synced to, and I muted the episode so I couldn't hear the royalty free music, and I did it like that so I could get a vibe of what they were actually doing in the moments and have like a rough understanding. It definitely wasn't perfect because, you know, it's hard to sync up something that you can't hear with like a song, you know, that you've like don't know, you know, it's hard. But they gave me, you know, it was close enough that I was like, okay, this feels fair enough that I can judge this like this. You know what I mean? It's like back in the day, or maybe today, I don't know, when your YouTube just all of a sudden just decided to lower itself down to like 140p for a bit, and you couldn't fix it. So you're just like watching the video that you're watching now in shitty quality, and you're just like, yeah, this is happening. I'm still getting this. I'm still absorbing it. Anyway, I'm gonna shut up. We're gonna move on to episode 6. In episode 6, we have ourselves the commercial challenge, where they had to do these commercials about these perfumes. And I pretty much kept the placements the same. The only change I made was originally Soa Demuse was high and Legrandin was safe, but I decided to switch them. Going over the performances, Paloma's was so funny and just like she's good at comedy. She knows how to sell something. She's very good at that. It was very clear to me that she won this episode. I completely agreed with that. But Legrandin's was, I fucking love this performance she was doing. What was she saying? Like I don't remember, but I don't care. It was stupid and silly and fun, and I just loved it. And the complaint was that like she wasn't like dressed as Le Grand Dame for it, and I'm like, well, that wasn't the damn assignment. I don't care. The assignment is to make a commercial for a perfume based off of like what you get, and she's fucking killed it, and I don't understand that critique. Soa Demuse also did a pretty good job in this challenge. Had some funny comedy moments, sold herself well. I really have no complaints, just was my third favorite of the night here. And then Lolita Banana and La Big Bertha, I completely understand as being the bottom two here, as they were originally. And they're going to lip sync to Core, and this lip sync I've mentioned before, as being an all-time lip sync. That is just, it is fascinating, it is gut-wrenching, it is, oh my goodness. It is, again, if you've not watched this lip sync, just go watch it. It is like heart-wrenching and beautiful at the same time. It is so, it is something that needs to be spread. It is so good. It is just a really fascinating lip sync to watch. But Lolita Banana definitely wins the lip sync. And so look, Bertha is going to go here, and we're going to move on to episode 7. Now, this is the first episode where the elimination does not line up with what actually happened. In episode 7 originally, here we had the Makeover challenge, where they had to make over one of their loved ones. Originally, the way that they did this episode was that after the makeovers and everything, they were like, oh my god, we can't decide. Let's do a lip sync SmackDown. And I don't like that at all. That feels so not... That doesn't feel fair to me. To say like, okay, y'all did too close of a job. How about we do more? I'm like, girl, what? What do you mean by that? The fuck? You're just like changing up the game at the last second. So we're not doing the lip sync SmackDown because I don't want to do it. It was started as a makeover challenge. It's going to stay the makeover challenge. That's the way it was originally planned. If they were going to do this lip sync SmackDown thing, they should have just done that from the jump or had it be part of the challenge as a whole and like given the makeover winner like an advantage in the SmackDown by like letting them choose their person they were competing against or their song or something, you know? If that was going to happen, it should have been expressed and been clearly stated from the jump. But since it wasn't, we're not going to do it like that. We're just going to have ourselves a makeover. And the popular opinion online, and my personal opinion, is that Lolita Banana fucking served this. And she is going to get the win here at the final hour, which is so fun. I love a storyline like that where a queen doesn't get their first win until the very end and gets in there in that finale. It's always so fascinating to me. They did it with like Crystal Method and Floor on Drag Race Down Under. Miss Jade So. I love when they do that, and this is what would happen here. It just naturally works out really well, I feel. And then Paloma, I do think, did the second best. And she's going to get a high placement here. I think I am going to settle into and continue doing in these episodes where there's a top 4 and they are doing a full competitive episode where there's like a winner and bottom 2. Having the placements be win high and then the bottom 2. I used to do win safe and then the bottom 2, but I do think it technically, and it's just a bit more fair to have like 2 top placements and then 2 bottom placements. This means that the bottom 2 are La Grande Dame and Soa de Muse, and they're going to be lip syncing to La Grenade by Clara Luciani. There were 3 lip sync songs technically this episode, but this was the final song that was done. It's like left for the grand finale, so I imagine that this is the song that would have been done if it was just like a single lip sync in this episode. And I decided to save them both. The Grand Dame did a perfectly fine job in lip sync originally. She did win it against Lolita Banana. And I do think Soa would probably do a touch better than La Grande Dame. But I do think they both would have done a really good job here. And I think this is one of those top 4s where it is just undeniable that they are all like stars. And if I was the host and judging this season, I think it would be a terrible thing to say, oh, one of these 2 icons has to go home before the finale. That just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, Lolita, Paloma, La Grande Dame, Soa, they've all fucking had served throughout the whole season up to this point. And to say at the final second, yeah, you're going home, sorry. That just feels short-sighted. Like, I feel like you should let them all make the finale, let everybody gag over it. I think it just makes more sense, like, purely from a producer standpoint. And I also think they would have done very similar jobs in this lip sync that, with their track records being as close as they are as well, I don't think it would have been in one way or the other particularly, like, more fair. Like, I don't know what decision makes more technical sense to do in a way. So I do think it is the best decision to just say, hey, you both stay. We're moving on to the finale. Will you have to reformat the final performance to Catwalk? Sure, but who cares? In the finale, they have to do a performance to RuPaul's Catwalk. They don't have to write verses or anything. I wish they did have to, but they don't have to here. They just get to kind of dance and like lip sync to it. And then they do runways, and then they do a final lip sync. It's pretty standard finale fare. It's very nice. and they are gonna lip sync the finale to Maria Susan by Delita. And I struggled on choosing a winner here because they all did such a great job throughout the season. None of them has a bad track record. They all are literally, they're all within 3 points of each other, which, I mean, like 3 points is kind of nothing in the grand scheme of things. You know, it's very close. So I felt there was merit to literally any of them winning, but I decided to go with Paloma, mainly because when she did have the best track record of the season. She's tied with La Grande Dame, but it is still the best. It is tied for the best. She had my favorite final lip sync performance. I do think she did better than Soa and Grande Dame. And I do think would have done better than Lolita as well. She really killed that final lip sync. And the runways and the performances to Catwalk were all very close to each other in the finale. So I feel like, you know, out of all the moments to stand out in the finale, I feel like Paloma does the best at that. And also, I feel like Paloma really just did a great job throughout the season of showing that she can do anything, you know? Like, she's in the top 4 design challenge and safe for the other, but still did a really good job. She wins both the acting challenges. She does fail a performance challenge in the girl groups, but then she immediately redeems herself by providing one of the greatest lip sync performances of the season. And then in the finale, lip syncs again and does a great job there as well. She showed very comprehensively that she can do literally anything. And I feel like she covered those bases and showed off her skills in a more comprehensive way to those who are, you know, in the finale with her. So I think it just feels the most fair and makes the most sense to give the win here to Paloma. These are the track records for the season. A win is 5 points, high is 4, safe is 3, low is 2, bottom is 1, and an elimination is 0. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Again, please like, comment, and subscribe. Leave your thoughts, feelings, and opinions down below if you enjoyed yourself or didn't like it. You know, I'll take either. As always, I will leave my Twitter handle linked down below if you want to go follow me on there. And again, thank you all so much for watching, and as always, take care. Bye-bye.